at a startup, you can't be worrying too much about competition. Um, any lucrative opportunity, you have to assume, you have to, you have to expect that there's going to be a lot of other players who are going to be interested in interested in that opportunity, just like you are. And the only way to win is to innovate, is to actually maintain that speed of execution and look ahead. Like now, as companies are actually trying to sort of build the product that we've built over the last few years, as they're thinking about building enterprise integrations and connectors and the search stack. We've moved on, in the sense that we are actually working on the next level of challenges that need to get solved to make AI work in the enterprise.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Founders in Arms with me, Imad, co-founder and CEO of Mercury.
And I'm Raj Suri, co-founder of Lima and Tribe. And today we're very excited to welcome Arvind Jain, who's the founder and CEO of Glean and co-founder of Rubrik. Welcome, Arvind.
Thank you for having me.
Arvind, very excited to have you on the pod. You've built now two really exciting companies, starting with Rubrik, which recently went public, right?
That's right.
I guess one question I always have for folks is like, you've now done two companies. Like, do you feel like you learned a lot from your first company that you applied to the second company, or do you feel like the challenges continue just as intensely every time you build a company?
Definitely much of the latter. I think, every time you start a new project, it almost feels like, like you have to relearn everything from scratch. I mean, for us, Rubrik and Glean are so different in journeys in terms of the space, the product. Um, as an example, like in Rubrik, we were in a reasonably static market, a very well-established need that businesses had a lot of budgets, existing budgets to solve for. And so we had to go build a better product and win those existing budgets. And in Glean, we built a product which nobody actually was used to buying. There were no budgets, and we had to evangelize. And so when you in these two different markets, the way you build your team, your go-to-market organization is fundamentally different. So I did have to actually unlearn quite a few things and figure it out on the fly, like as we actually went and built Clean. But of course, there are some learnings that are always helpful. I mean, basic ones, like for example, well, you have to build a great team if you want to succeed, and that
Mhm.
doesn't change. And I knew when I went into Clean that, well, take your time, but hire the best people, because that's what's need over the years to build a great product.
Yeah, and I think it's great to hear, and we should quickly explain what these companies do, because some people may not understand, right? Like, so Rubrik was really focused on data security, which is like an existing market, but there was already a
Mhm.
need for, you were capturing an existing budget, right?
Yes,
Whereas Glean, you're inventing a new category of enterprise AI, basically. So
that's
that's the fundamental difference, right?
yeah, that's right there. I mean, exactly it. I can tell a little bit more about Glean.
Hmm.
So when we started, we are actually building a search product. We wanted to build a Google like search for people inside their work lives. So if you think about within an enterprise, you have so many data systems, so much data spread across so many different systems. As an employee, whenever you're trying to actually um, get an answer to a question. Maybe you're trying to find a document, maybe you're trying to locate a PRD, maybe you're trying to figure out who's an expert on a given topic. Whenever you have a question, like it was just impossible to actually go and find answers to them. Like, all you could do was like try to actually find somebody, ask them, they will route you to somebody else. And and as a result, you spend like a lot of time just looking for information. So that was the initial problem that we wanted to solve. How do you make it easy for people to quickly get answers to whatever questions they have, where the answers are somewhere in your enterprise knowledge. And from there, the AI played a big role in it. Uh, we were, in fact, like in early 2019 when we started, transformers were making their mark in the search teams. Like, nobody else knew about what transformers were, but
Mhm.
in my background, I used to work at Google before, and in Google search, we were seeing like how transformative this technology was, like how like years of work that we'd done building search systems, these models could actually in an instant, like, do better than like all that
Mm.
hard work over the many years. So we saw that
Mhm.
opportunity to use transformers, bring them to enterprise, and build this really convenient um, search product where you could come ask questions, will surface the right information back to you, will find it from one of those 1,000 systems that you had. So that's how we started. And then over the years, as these models have gotten better, it has allowed us to actually expand our product. Like now, you can think of us as a more powerful version of ChatGPT inside your company. Glean is connected to all of the internal company's data as well as all of the world's knowledge, and sort of becomes that day-to-day tool for you. You go ask questions, and it's going to actually find all the right information to actually go and answer those questions for you.
Was that kind of do you see that as a pivot, moving from kind of search focus to more of this kind of agentic model?
We get a lot of credit for doing a successful pivot, but the reality is that we actually didn't do any pivot. We've just
That was always the
continued our
plan.
well, we've continued our journey. Like, if you think about what has happened, like as we moved from search to a conversational AI assistant, it's actually a very natural journey. Like as the models give you more power. See, like when we started the company, as I was saying in 2019, the the models had great capabilities to sort of conceptually understand content and text. So we could actually take a question that a user had and sort of conceptually understand what they're looking for. Similarly, we could take documents inside your company and understand what they are about, and do this matching at a conceptual level as opposed to at a keyword level. But that's all
Hmm.
we had in 2019. The models were smart; they could understand information, so we could do pattern matching. They didn't have reasoning and generation capabilities at the time. Over the years, they got those. So when the model started to actually like develop these capabilities to actually generate their own words, it was a natural extension for us to take our product, like make our product use those capabilities.
Hmm.
Before you would ask questions, we could only surface information back to you. Um, but now we could actually go one step further. We could read that information using the model and synthesize an answer for you and give it back to you. So for us, like, internally, the journey um, has been like one where the underlying technology that's available to us that we are building is getting powerful, and it has actually allowed us to create new experiences for our users.
Glean has been this like super hot AI company, and obviously you've been kind of riding this AI trend. Uh, do you see that as a positive thing that like you're building with this kind of hype cycle, or do you see it as like a distraction? Like, would you prefer if like people would just be quiet and you could just go build this company, or do you like riding this kind of hype cycle?
So we actually have gone through both the phases
Uh-huh.
in the journey of our company. The first 4 years were where it was very quiet, and nobody really knew what we were doing, and actually most people didn't care either, and so we had to do a lot of evangelism. Every customer that we acquired, we had to do a lot of work trying to educate them that, well, this product is going to save your employees a lot of time. It's going to make them twice as productive, and you should invest in it. And so that was a good market to be in. Like, we were able to, without the distraction of like, too much competition and noise in the market, we were able to quietly build that product over the first 4 years of the company's existence. And get like some amazing companies who are forward looking in their approach, and get the product out there. But then I think this hype cycle has been incredibly helpful to us, because I think the um I mean, like, whether to call it hype cycle or whether to just call it the revolution, like, AI
Yeah.
is really powerful. And so I don't actually think of it as a hype cycle. It's just that there is, suddenly, like, there's a sudden huge interest that the market has in
Mm-hmm.
AI. Every business wants to actually figure out, like, how am I going to actually use this technology and reinvent myself, redesign my organization, build new products with it. So there's an extremely high level of interest, and that actually has been very, very good for us, because we had a product ready by then, by the time this sudden sort of revolution happened. And now we're able to scale our company so much faster, so quickly, because everybody's looking for the product that we built.
it's amazing how that happens, right? Like, oftentimes founders start companies and they're in the wilderness for many years, and it can feel very lonely in that wilderness, right? Like, if I think of like Lyft and stuff, it was 5 years in the wilderness, right? Presto as well. And probably when you started Mercury, fintech wasn't that hot, right? It
Yeah,
became
fintech
hot
wasn't
later.
out, and I think it's kind of interesting, and maybe it's slightly different with enterprise. I much like this. We've been through like several cycles, like 2017 to 19, fintech wasn't that hot. 19 to 22, fintech was everything. 22 to 24 wasn't hot, and now it's back to being hot. I kind of prefer it when it's not hot because, yeah, I just want to go build. Competition is way less. It's much easier to hire people because there isn't like 1,000 companies getting like overfunded. Uh, and at least for our customers, they don't really buy us because we're hot or not. They buy us because their friends are telling them about it and they just need the need. I think it's slightly different with enterprise sales where like it is, you can either sell something in 3 months or you can sell it in 2 years. And it's just much easier to sell it when like everyone's looking for a solution. Uh,
Yeah.
but do you worry about kind of the competitive landscape? I mean, now there's so many people that are like going after enterprise search, right? Like I think Dropbox has a product. Like there's a bunch of companies that are like public
Yeah.
that have like said they want to go
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah. Well, one, like, for us, our product has evolved, as I said. So we started with search as the core, which still serves as
Hmm.
the core foundation for everything else we do. But we are now also a really powerful conversational AI assistant for every employee in a business, and we're also a powerful agent building platform. So, like, if you're trying to actually transform a
So you feel
specific
like
business.
you're enough ahead of the competitors that you're not like that bothered that like it gets more competitive.
Well, I mean, I think, like, look, uh, competition. Um, the reason I was giving that context was that I think if you were like only search, maybe it will not attract so much competition. But the problem
Mm,
is that the serves as a core foundation for making any kind of AI happen in your
mm,
enterprise. You want to build an agent to transform a business process. More than likely, that agent is going to need to work with some information inside your company, which a search system is actually going to bring to it.
yeah.
And so search has become this really core foundation for making AI work in the enterprise. Our agent building platform, of course, relies on search heavily as well. So that is, and that, of course, is a huge opportunity. And there is no large software company that doesn't want to actually be in that. So we have today so many different companies, like, you mentioned one, but you take the top 10 software companies, like majority of them are actually building a product like Glean,
Mm.
and bringing it to the market. So yes, so we are going to be in a very competitive space, um, and and uh, and we have to figure out, like, how we're going to stay ahead. Like today, we're ahead by multiple years because because of how early we started on it compared to everybody else. So we have a good product lead. We also have good lead on customers. Like, we have the world's most iconic companies using Glean, and for many years. So I think that foundation is there for us, but like we're competing with the largest of the largest companies now. And so, like, that's a new world. Like, but fundamentally, like the way I think about it, like, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts too. At a startup, you can't be worrying too much about competition. Um, any lucrative opportunity, you have to assume, you have to, you have to expect that there's going to be a lot of other players who are going to be interested in it, interested in that opportunity, just like you are.
Mm.
And the only way to win is to innovate, is to actually maintain that speed of execution, and look ahead. Like, so, like, now, as companies are actually trying to sort of build the product that we've built over the last few years, as they're thinking about building enterprise integrations and connectors and the search stack, we've moved on, like, in the sense that we are actually working on the next level of challenges that need to get solved to make AI work in the enterprise.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree with you. We have a really well-funded competitor. I won't say who it is, but they're continuously looking at everything we launch. Like, I've heard from people that work there that they literally like rip apart every product we do and like try to copy it. And every time we launch something, they always launch something similar like a few weeks later. But it always kind of amuses me because we've like the things that they're copying are things we thought about or started working on like a year and a half ago or something, and we're already like very far moved along to like a completely different strategy. And I think that's always the problem with people who are too focused on competitors. They're always like 2 years behind in terms of like their thinking. And yeah, what you're talking about is kind of fits that. Like you've gone so much further than just thinking about search. You've gone like to the next kind of two steps, and people are still kind of behind by two. But it does mean you have to continuously innovate, which I think enterprise is a little more brutal. Like Mercury has like somewhat of a benefit that we can kind of build a strong enough brand, and the brand by itself will be a differentiator. I don't know, maybe that's true for enterprise as well. Do you think like it is about like having the most innovative product all the time, or is it that the brand by itself will be like people will choose Glean because like everyone uses Glean? I think that's true too, right?
Yeah, it's definitely true in the enterprise. I mean, both of them have to work. See,
Yep.
like once you build a good product, and that good product actually helps you build a great brand, with great customers. Well, that's going to actually help you make the new sales faster. Like, there will be customers who will say that, well, yeah, look, I don't have time to actually go and test and evaluate it. I already know that I've heard great things from from others. And so we're just going to go directly into making buying the product and implementing it, and so sort of it helps a lot. Like brand is actually, in fact, is very very today, like we're known clearly as the best search and AI assistant product in the market, and so it helps us like make sell the product much faster. But I mean that's only temporary. Like you can get that win, but if the product doesn't work for your customers, then you're dead again. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like both of them go hand in hand.
One thing that I always struggle with in AI, and I'm interested in your take on this, Arvind, there's a lot of companies that kind of oversell what they can do. They're like, we're the AI X, and it just sounds like they can do so much. And then you actually go under the hood, and it's like, oh, actually, it's like smallish. It seems like you're not the kind of person that oversells too much, but do you think like you do have to paint that vision and like oversell it a little bit and like wait for kind of the underlying models to catch up? Or is your take like, hey, only sell to like what you're able to do today?
Yeah, I'm more of the latter category because I'm always afraid of like what's going to happen after the product gets deployed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think overselling and then failing is such a bad, like, it destroys your reputation, and and oftentimes you won't get a second chance. So I think like I've always been of the uh of the breed, which is sort of under promise and over deliver. That's the mentality that I, typically like to have. But also, like, right now it actually works, it works well, as an AI company, like, my advice to any AI company out there is to actually not go and try to build this, show a really fancy demo, which is unrealistic, after you're gonna, like to make it work. After you're going to try to make a product work in an enterprise, overselling is happening at a very grand scale, by thousands of vendors. And frankly, the CIOs, the enterprise buyers are actually tired of it. They're not
Do you
looking
think
for.
there's a
Mm.
different strategy for kind of the VC market versus the customer market? Like, should you like at least people like paint a grand vision for VCs? Like, should you oversell a little bit more to VCs? I mean, obviously you don't want to lie, but like, hey, you're like, this is the vision and this is how we do it.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, like, see, those are two different things, right? Like, one is, what you have right now. And like, typically, if you're pitching to the VCs, like as a early, let's say you're early, um, then you clearly don't have anything. So all you're actually showing to them is a vision and where things can go. So like that big picture, the dream, that of course is
Mm-hmm.
important. And in fact, you can convey that not just to VCs but also to customers. They're also looking for that. But like I think you have to also be realistic and talk about where you are today. I think honesty, wins, every time, in my opinion. So this is what we do. Like, in fact, actually, we get a lot of times, our customers are not happy with us because we don't actually show them. We actually tell them what we do, and sometimes, it falls flat. In the sense that, well, okay, like I saw so many other people also do it, and what's special here, right? I mean, like we're not showing the special thing. We're showing what we can do. And I think we sort of try to always change that conversation and say that, like, look, these are all the different challenges that you have to solve to even get to the place, where we are today. But then we say that, like, look, we do have a vision in mind for like what's going to happen in the future, and here's what that is. But this is not reality. And so I
Mm.
think when you communicate both separately, I think it actually lands very well.
Arvind, one question I was wondering for you as well. I mean, brand definitely matters, for enterprise. I've seen that myself. Referenceability is everything, right? Um, you know, what do you do, to like as CEO to ensure like, your reputation stays strong? How do you like, what kind of signals do you look for, from the market, from everyone, from the ecosystem to make sure that your reputation is strong?
Well, I mean, I've not thought of it that way, specifically, uh, like what's going to keep. And it's not, I never think about my reputation. I mean, first of all, it's company's
Yeah,
reputation. I
company's
assume that's what you
reputation. Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
And uh, like the company's reputation, like, it basically, from an enterprise business perspective, there are a few things, that are most important. Number one, well, yes, do we actually have a product that works? But number two, um, do we also are we like, do we work well with our customers? Like, and that spans from everywhere from, well, how do you price the product? Are you flexible? um, um, and the are you actually making it easy for them to migrate out of your platform if you need to, if they need to, like, how do we actually support them, post sales with, like, really, like, like if as a company, like, and especially if it's true for us, like, when there's so much demand in the market, you can sell the product and then you can forget about the customer, and hope that they will just implement it themselves. And oftentimes, like for complex products, that doesn't happen. Like, you have to actually stay with them on that journey. You have to invest in customer success. You have to invest in solution engineering to actually ensure that they succeed. And so that's the number one thing that we focus on is, well, like, signing the customer is not enough. You have to actually go and really build a plan. In fact, we build a 1 year plan with our customers. Build a shared roadmap and really help them with AI, because most, like, like, remember, like, we're in this very uncharted territory. This is not established area at all. Customers are excited about wanting to do things with AI, but they don't know what are all the things they could be doing. So we put a lot of emphasis on how to work with that customer, maintain a great relationship, assign a team that actually builds, those very deep relationships with our customers, and work together, build a shared roadmap with them, and help them on this journey of AI transformation. And
You
that's the most
mentioned
important thing
that
for us.
you mentioned you want to make it easy for them to leave you. I thought that was kind of unintuitive, unless I misheard. You actually want to make it so there is like a plan for them to transition away if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to design, like, look, we are here, like, our model at Glean is simple. We're not actually trying to build something and then and then sort of build, like, make if you make it hard for people to leave your platform, especially in our industry, that's not good, because it's going to
I
be a
mean,
concern
that's
for our
isn't that
customers.
exactly how all enterprise software works? Like, make it really hard to leave.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, for me, I think we truly believe in, adding value
Hmm.
and retaining customers, uh, because we add value. So I'll give you an example. We've tried to stay away from becoming a system of record.
Hmm.
Most of the things that we do with our product, we actually work with data, that actually exists in all the different systems,
Hmm.
and we don't try to
And you're
actually,
saying like when you're
yeah.
selling to these enterprise customers, they actually like that. They're like, oh, thank God, like these guys aren't trying to be a system of record. Like I can use this and not be stuck with it forever. So like that's like
Yeah,
the easier sell.
they appreciate that. And in fact, remember, like, in the AI industry, the winners have not yet been anointed. Like, you don't
Hmm.
know, like, who's going to last, and for how long. And in that market, like, that actually giving our customers this comfort that, look, we are replaceable. Like, if we stop innovating and somebody else does better than us, you should be able to switch quickly to them.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
that's
really
pretty cool.
unintuitive.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah,
sense though.
I can see that. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense, but I think a lot of people wouldn't pitch it that way. So that's smart.
Arvind, you're obviously like kind of successful because of Rubrik. Like, what is your motivation now? Like, what kind of, makes you wake up in the in the morning and want to like grind and like go through all of these kind of difficult parts of like running a new startup?
And you had a successful career before Rubrik. I mean, you were 11 years. You were early at Google, right? Like, you were at Akamai before in doing like the heyday, right? I was looking at your back. I'm like, wow, you've had a very successful overall career,
Mhm.
So like, you're probably even successful before you got to Rubrik.
Well, yeah, I've been fortunate to be at
Mm.
companies that have all achieved success over the last 25 years that I've been working. But for me, first it is about, I think building a product is just exciting. Like you got to do something with your time, and well, for me, that's my favorite thing to do is is actually taking challenges, technical challenges, and trying to solve them. So I just enjoy, this exercise of building products. And specifically for Glean, I mean, what could be more exciting than being part of this, like be at the center of this, um, the biggest technology trend of all of our lives. Like work as it happens today is fundamentally going to change. Like our work lives are going to be very different in the next few years compared to what it is right now. We're all going to have amazing sort of tools and capabilities through AI and we are really excited to be at the center of that revolution, like becoming one of the most important enterprise AI companies. That kind of impact that you make, I think it just feels good. I mean, that's what motivates me to be at the center seat um, and and like make positive impact, like on everybody who works everywhere in the world.
Hmm. How many people are at Glean today?
We're growing fast, so we're actually closing in on 1,000 people now.
Do you find it hard to stay close to the product? Like I feel like obviously when you're small, like you see every product decision and you're part of it. Whereas now, presumably, there's so many different things that kind of take your time. Do you stay close to the product? And if you do, like what are systems you've made to like be part of that?
I stay close to the product, and it's really, really hard to actually be able to do it, as you said. Like, once you have 400, people in R&D and they're building so many different things, like it's not a human thing for anyone to sort of really know, stay on top of everything. I think Lean helps a lot in that regards because we have,
This product
like, for
helps. Yeah.
example, and I think I have these prompts that I use. For example, one of my prompts is to actually every week it's it basically is meant to actually go through the entire all the updates that every single engineering team actually sends out within their own teams, and go through all of those things and actually creates a really nice sort of, think of it as release notes for me, like what
Mm.
are people doing. um and it's actually much more involved than the customer release notes that we publish. But so there are, like, technology is actually making it easy, like in some ways, to actually keep track of what's happening in the organization. That's what, like, our product is about. But yes, it is difficult, it is hard, um and and I don't actually believe in the model of that, hey, look, every pixel that moves on the screen, like, like has to go through, like, my design review from me. I actually don't even, like, I've never done that. Even when we were small,
Hmm.
like, our culture has not been like where I'm the decision
Bottleneck.
maker,
Yeah.
and yeah, a bottleneck, or yeah, exactly, so going to become a bottleneck. But I was never the decision maker in terms of, like, what the product looks like, what the UI looks like. We have a bottoms up culture. People experiment, and the users decide what will stick and what will not stick. Not me or any other executive in the company.
One thing I did, which worked really well, and I would recommend, is we have a Slack channel called Pre-Shipped. and then we have
Yeah.
another channel called shipped. And basically, whenever something is like design ready before engineering works on it, it gets posted in pre-shipped, and then whenever it ships, it goes in shipped. And we do that for almost everything we do. So it's actually one of my favorite channels, just because you could just see like every day there's like some updates on either of these, and
Yeah.
then it's much more asynchronous. So if I see something in there where I'm like, oh, I really want to kind of talk further to this team and see what they're building or have feedback on it, I can do it. But I can also just
Yeah.
like leave it
Yeah.
if I don't.
Yeah. One luxury that we have is we are customer zero, and Glean is a product that you use all the time. Like,
Mhm.
every employee will use the product every day. So we actually get to see everything that we're going to be doing first, like, in our own instances. So you just naturally, like, sort of, it becomes easy for us because it's an end
Oh
user
yeah, that's a good
product.
point.
Everybody
How
in the
many
company uses
weeks?
it.
How many weeks do you keep it to like Glean only before you release it to customers?
I mean, that has changed so much. Like before, we had like a month of soak time, and in the world of AI, that doesn't make sense anymore. Like you have to, in 1 month you have to deliver something new to our customers. So it's pretty rapid. Like, we do have to, and different enterprises have different, like, like requirements as well. Some of them actually, like, they don't care whether AI is moving so fast. Like, they still have their own change management processes. So some of them, will get like new features like maybe 3 months, after after that are sort of, really proven inside our own company and with our customers who want the innovation the fastest. And so it's variable that way, but it's pretty quick. Like, I would say, like on average, depending on the magnitude of the change, the soak time could be like a week or two internally.
One question I had for you, Imad, like, do you use enterprise AI? Like, what do you, like, what's your habits
It's
of using?
kind of a funny story. I don't know if Arvind cares, but there's a company that I was an investor in and we tried to use called Dashwork. But annoyingly, they sold the company. So Mercury integrated it and we were starting to use it, and then they sold it, and then they shut down the product. So we are actually investigating, and I think we might end up using Glean. Especially after this conversation, because it sounds amazing.
You get a deal done right here.
Yeah, but it does go to show you, actually, like, I think it was an annoying thing for us to like integrate something, get people trained on it, and then it gets sold. So there's like this benefit to using companies that are a little more established, that have raised more money, etc., that like you feel like their product's going to stick around.
That's a big part of the enterprise game, is just seeming more stable and, just more long term. I mean, that's why Microsoft itself has done really well over many years. It's like they just
Yeah.
seem like a stable company. And like,
I mean,
it's
are you
also-
ever? I mean, especially with these kind of recent spates of like AI M&A, is that something tempting for you, or you just want to kind of keep this independent, go public? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us right now, we're always thinking about what's best for the company and how much we can achieve, like by staying independent. The opportunity right now seems so large. The like, the way, here's my thinking. Like, 10 years from now, the world's most valuable companies, probably the top five of them are all going to be AI companies.
Mhm.
Um, you're already seeing, like Nvidia, I guess, is the most valuable company in the world.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot more in that direction. Um, the the nature of work is going to change. AI is going to be much bigger part of our work in the future, and in fact, like, it's going to fundamentally change organizational design as well. So and today, where we stand, um, we are the largest pure play enterprise AI company in the world. Like, even from our, like, our scale, like, our talent, employee base, the amount of R&D investment that we're making, and staying independent, is the path to actually innovate the fastest, which is actually absolutely critical right now to actually be a meaningful player. So right now, all signs are for us to actually, are to stay independent, keep building the company, grow it. And our ambition is to be one of the most important enterprise AI companies, of the future.
Like, I feel like I'm a little irrational about it. Even if it was like rational for me to sell, I wouldn't sell, just because I want to just build
Yeah.
like a long-term company for the sake of building that. Like, do you feel that too, or you think like, hey, if it's a good enough kind of deal term and like it makes sense for customers, you would consider it?
Yeah. I mean, look, these opportunities, always come to companies, that they've come
Hmm.
to us. Um, and you have to always make that decision, which is not based on like my personal preference. I think that would be the wrong thing. That's actually probably, I don't even know if that's allowed in that sense. Like,
Sure.
we are answerable to the board, we have fiduciary responsibility. And so um, you always have to have the open mind. You have to actually have the mindset of, hey, what's the right thing? What's going to maximize, our
But why
shareholder
should
return?
it not be based on your personal preference? Like you started the company, and
Well, I mean,
presumably
like,
you're the
but
biggest owner still.
I think it's about, well, I mean, I think like, well, I guess I don't understand the legalities of it, but like,
Sure.
there are many more shareholders. I'm not just the only one. And maximizing shareholder equity is, of course, like, the primary responsibility for anyone. But coming back to like, the forgetting the technicalities, the we built Rubrik before I started Glean. And with the same attitude, we felt always that, it doesn't make sense for us to get bought by any other company because we're going to be larger than them in the future.
Hmm.
And I think that's playing out. Like, Rubrik went IPO, and it actually, is probably one of the larger players, when you think about market value and the size of the business. And there's so much potential, for it to keep growing. And the path to stay independent was absolutely the right one. And I think that's the same thing I feel here. The and my mindset is the following, like, yes, my preference, personally, what would I like to do? Yes, it's so much more fun to actually keep running independently, and have that freedom to innovate and, shape the company, to your will, to what you would like to do. But I think, like the decision for, here is more about what's best for every employee. There are thousands of them. For every investor, there are many of them. And right now, without a doubt, for us, it is like staying, going at it ourselves.
Yeah. I feel like
Arvind, what
there's
were
such
you?
a subjective element to it, right? Like it's like I do think it actually comes down a lot to like how much the founders got the energy to like keep going and innovating because
Yeah.
I do think on the whole, you can always reinvent and you can as long as the market and TAM is big enough, you can keep going. I think there is definitely a situation where like you're running out of time or the market, there's something wrong in the market, and then you should probably take the right option. But assuming that's not the case and the founder has the energy, I think it's such a
Yeah.
subjective decision that it does, I think,
Yeah.
often come down to the founder.
Preference. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think from that perspective, I also tend to it's like sometimes I feel like, yeah, I think like the highest potential is achieved, in my opinion, most of the times, if you sort of continue the journey yourself. Yeah.
Hmm.
Arvind, what role did you have at Rubrik? You were a co-founder. Did you have like, would you run product or engineering or something? You
Yeah, I
weren't
ran
CEO.
R&D. Yeah. I
You
ran
ran R&D.
R&D. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
How was that journey for you? So you went from Google, a big company, to starting your own company. I mean, that's kind of rare. I mean, in Imagine I world, I mean, we've been founders pretty much our whole career, right? And but you were an engineer, big tech. Generally, I would think, I think the stereotypical wisdom is that like it's hard for engineers in big tech to become founders, right? It's just a different culture completely. And then you went from a co-founder then to be a CEO. See, I've done both as well. I was a co-founder at Lyft and then been CEO. I noticed there's a huge difference in like
Mhm.
the pressure and stress there. So how
Yeah.
has your evolution been personally?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I have been a startup person for a long time, actually.
Mhm.
In fact, I started my career at Microsoft, and I lasted there for 2 years, and after that, I joined Akamai, and we were about 50 people, I think, at the time. And it was a phenomenal journey for me. It just like allowed me to grow so much. Um, I mean, I'm still introverted, but I was extremely introverted at the time when I was at Microsoft. I just couldn't actually make any conversation with anyone. And like what work I had to do was given by somebody to me. We would sit in a closed room and by yourself. Like most of the time I would be sleepy sitting in that room, like, with nobody to talk to. And from there I went to this company, and that was the first time when I had to actually figure out on my own, like, hey, what should I be working on? and there were people who were willing to believe and give me that responsibility that I will figure out the right thing to work on. And so I made a decision that I would only work at startups. That was my decision at the time. It's 2 years of experience in. And since then, actually, that's all I did. Like, I joined Akamai, then I was part of the founding team of Riverbed, which was another enterprise networking company. Then I joined Google when it was also actually fairly small. It was a privately held startup. And so for me, like, I felt comfortable. Like, I understand I've been on that day one journey. I would already been on that day one journey before. Yes, like, at Google, I stayed a long time and became a large company person to some degree. But I don't think I've actually ever converted
Mm.
um, to the large company way of doing things. Like, and I'm still actually haven't fully converted to be a CEO or a leader. Like, like for me, you know, like 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 staying in the details, staying at low level is, I think, what's naturally sort of I'm inclined to actually always be doing. So I think the transition um, from Google to Rubrik was very comfortable. I had no fear, I had no concern, um, and and I think it was more about like the what I enjoy, like who I work with. So in this case, it was a friend of mine who wanted to start the company with me, and I was and I was so there's this familiarity that way. And it felt like, yeah, okay, well, looks like we're gonna have a lot of fun. Let's go and do it. So that was sort of how we um, uh, um, went into Rubrik. I'm going to give you like a long answer here on a bunch of things, but the journey was actually interesting. And I realized that actually I'd lost a lot of that startup muscle. Like, like I had come to believe, for example, that I was a great recruiter. At
Hmm.
Google, I'd actually hired so many great people into my teams. And here we started the company, and I sort of go and talk to all these people who I worked with. And nobody says yes, like, nobody wants to join me
Yeah.
anymore. I said, okay, what happened? Like, what happened to all my amazing recruiting capabilities? And I realized that, well, it was a brand of Google that was actually recruiting people, not me before.
Mhm.
And so we had to sort of go and like go back to the drawing board, think about like, how you can actually change, like, like how do you motivate people? How do you sort of, explain clearly to them what the mission is? And so like, yeah, there were
I mean,
definitely
I don't know if
like,
you found
yeah,
this, Arvind, but I
yeah,
found when I started Mercury, when you
mm,
like, especially when you're pre-Series A, it is
yeah,
very hard to recruit anyone from a FAANG company. Like they're just
yeah,
getting so much money, and it's like
yeah,
like the types of people that work there are not like
yeah.
interested in taking like a massive pay cut to work at a tiny startup.
Yeah. You
Were
you have to,
yeah,
yeah. We were able to hire some people, but yeah, like, it has to be, they have to be crazy. I mean, in some
yeah,
ways, like,
basically,
like there's
yeah,
something,
irrational for
that
sure.
exactly. Yeah, they have to have something else, that they're motivated by. At a
Yeah.
startup, like and actually that stays through the journey. Like, even now for us, like it's the same thing. Like, we will never be able to um like if you did a risk reward based, like, went into a spreadsheet and did a financial thing, like it'll always, like, no startup will ever be able to compete with the risk reward adjusted return of a large, FANG, right? And so you have to offer something else. And I think what, as an early stage startup, as a pre-series A startup, what you offer to people is, number one, uh an amazing education in how to start a company, right? I
Hmm.
mean, like, like, there are a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs. They are at Google, they are at Amazon or Netflix or whatever, right? And but they are, that they have that bug. They want to actually start a company, and they don't feel comfortable. And so that's one way you attract people, is by providing them that platform where they're going to learn.
Yeah.
Um,
I liked what you said
sometimes,
earlier
yeah,
as well about like how, when you went to Akamai, you decided what you worked on. Uh,
yeah,
and I think that's a really big difference. Like the only job I ever had was at Bloomberg, and like being handed a ticket and saying like, go work on this, I just found so annoying, right? So unmotivating to be told what to like work on and have no
yeah,
input in that. I
yeah.
think that's like a big difference in like a startup culture from a bigger company.
Yeah, yeah, that's like that you get to do so much more, right? I like often tell people that, look, if you come to a startup, you'll be playing the role that, your manager is going to play in the company that you are at. Like, you just get so much more responsibilities, and you get to actually not only build stuff, but you have full context. You go work with customers.
Yeah.
You're right there in the market, and so I think those are some of the things that I think the top people get excited about
I wanted
working
to
in
go back
startup.
to your thing. You were saying that, like, when you went from Google to Rubrik, you had to like learn that you had to relearn recruiting. What else did you have to relearn?
Quite a few. Like one of them was. Um, I remember like just the product building experience at Google. We didn't really have to talk to customers much, or even listen to them, what they wanted. And I didn't have to actually ever work hard on trying to convince them that, hey, no, look, what we built actually works. And now you come because like you're such a strong brand. You come to Rubrik, and we were telling customers that, look, even at Rubrik, we're asking them that we will protect your systems. So you have to actually take all of your business data, sensitive data, and you have to store it in our system,
Mm.
so that we can, make copies, we can keep it safe. We're going to build a time machine of it. And like, why would these large, enterprises trust us? We had no, brand, so to speak. And we were asking them to entrust us, with their data. So you had to actually, um, figure out like how to get there. You have to spend a lot of time with customers. You have to build relationships with them. You have to um, uh, um, like actually think about um, you know every customer, they're making a big bet on you,
Hmm.
and they can actually get fired for that decision, because they picked a startup, not a safe choice. So you have to actually go, and as part of building that relationship with them, you have to actually understand their own career at their companies, uh, and what are the things that we can do to actually help them grow. And so these are the things that that you have to actually go and build, like which you sort of never at a larger enterprise. You don't have to there.
We have a set of rapid fire questions which we're using actually to help promote the episode. First question: what's one sentence you'd put on a billboard for every founder to see? Maybe on the 101 here in Silicon Valley, just for inspiration for founders.
Keep the conviction.
Keep the conviction.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, this isn't in the list, but I'm always interested. What is your P doom?
I mean, I think I would just express an optimistic view and call it zero. Not because I don't know what's going to happen, but that's my wish that it's zero.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
everyone's just making it up anyway. So
Yeah.
being optimistic is reasonable.
What's one founder or leader that inspires you?
I think the one, the folks who actually learned the most from are Larry, is Larry Page, and being at Google and just seeing how he operated, and the thing that I actually learned from him is this, like, completely unconstrained thinking,
Hmm.
where there was no practicality in like what you're trying to achieve. Like, for example, like, let's think about cars. Like, why do you need a driver in the car, or why can't the car fly? And I think when you sort of have that level of thinking, which like, and I never had that, by the way. Like, like it's just too uh like too practical, like, for my own good in most of the cases, and that's not when brilliant innovation happens. So that was actually, like, like I just saw them in action for a long time, and I think it's sort of, I think I fundamentally, that inspired me to also, like, have that belief that, like, look, you can actually go and solve very, very difficult problems. All you have to do is like have that, ambition and that desire, and then magical things that you think were not possible can actually happen.
Yeah,
Great.
I like that one. It's actually really hard to stay unconstrained, especially when you're like deep in the problem, because you're like
Yeah.
understand all the decisions you made to get there.
Super
It
hard.
is.
Super hard to
I have
do
a
that.
few friends slash investors that are like very unconstrained thinkers, and I think it's kind of fun to just like get together with them just to like
Yeah.
see what kind of unconstrained thing they'll think of uh,
Yeah.
for
Okay,
Mercury.
last one for me. What's one of the most uncomfortable pieces of feedback you've ever received in your illustrious career?
So I actually always thought that I'm a really, really easy person to work with. and that has all changed in the last few years. And I've gotten so much feedback about like how difficult I am, and especially like as I work with people outside of R&D, like R&D, I think like I learned like how to work with people, and we got like everybody was comfortable with me, and vice versa. But as I start like expand like this the set of people who I have to work with now, this is what I'm realizing. Like people actually come and tell me that like I constrain them. That actually um
Isn't this just
like
the curse of being the CEO that like you have to be kind of difficult to work with? Like
I think
you can't be likable as a CEO, right? Like you have to be able to give direct
yeah.
feedback, and people find that difficult.
Well, actually, like it's more than that. Like most, that's true. You have to you have to give direct feedback. You have to move fast, and you have to actually oftentimes disagree with the team. And because if you're not, then I think you are not like playing a big role in the
Hmm.
making that strategic impact. But I think like it actually sometimes for me the difficult part of the feedback has been is not that like look I disagree with them. It's actually like I've actually gotten feedback that I'm constraining their ability to
Mm.
actually move fast. And that was like actually like the most
Oh, that's
uh
the opposite of what you want to do.
yeah, like this is like when people tell me that I'm slowing them, uh that hurts the most, because
Yeah.
like everything in my bone is about moving fast. Like and at Google my role was I was the speed czar of the company, and my goal was to actually move every like make every product work super fast, make teams fast, and that's what I always try to do. Like and that's been like one of the most difficult thing that feedback I've received, and I and has it's definitely forced me to think a lot about like like how do I change how I work.
Hmm.
I'm just curious, what was the thing you were doing that was making people feel that way?
I think it's about debating like choices, and and maybe trying to optimize and like plan too much for any given topic.
Hmm.
Like it's like it's like I don't think I was doing it, but I was given the feedback, which is that like I'm sort of taking people into analysis paralysis, right?
Hmm.
Which is
Interesting.
certainly not my intention, certainly not even something that I actually felt that I was doing. But I mean that's it didn't matter what I felt. Like it is what they feel, which is more
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's been really good having you, Arvind. I feel like we could keep going on forever. You have so many interesting experiences and lessons founders can learn from.
This has been super exciting. What a fun conversation. Thank you for having me.
It's
Yeah,
great.
we should
I'm
have you
glad
again.
we can make this work finally, and hope to get you out to one of our dinners. You should come join us.
Let's do it.
Cool, Matt. Thanks so much.
And that's a wrap for today. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week. Please leave us a review on whatever channel you're listening to. That makes a big difference to the algorithm. And see you all next week.